Hello and welcome to another powerful group SFT tapping event. This one is called Healing the Evil of Christian Nationalism. It is a heady agenda. It'll pique a lot of people's interest. I'm Marvin Schneider.
And I'm Jen Ward. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jen. Thank you for everyone that's on the Zoom. And of course, we're recording this on day one of the RNC National Convention. And the timing of this is just, there are so many things that are going on in current events, particularly in America. And as a non-American, it's always interesting to me to sort of comment and observe on what's going on in America. But I think it is important. It does provide a different perspective because I'm not deeply ingrained in one side of the discussion or the other, Jen.
That's true. Which is really a good vantage point. I've been over in America my whole life, not really a political person, but an energy person. And all my life I felt the imbalance between what is being done and what is being said that's being done. So it's nice to have this. I don't think I'm the only one, but it's nice to have this SFT tapping in this platform to shift the energy back into balance. Hey, do you like my colors?
Red, white, and blue. Good job.
Well, there's a reason. Like there's a reason for everything I do. It's like at one point years ago, I was afraid to wear the color red because I thought it was evil or whatever. And then I realized right now is like, the only people who wear red or red, white, and blue are the MAGAs right now. And it's like, we have to take back the colors of the American flag for all individuals. So if you've been avoiding those colors because you don't want to look like MAGA, you have to take back those colors because they have been starting to be associated with the dirtbag. And he can't have that. It's a full spectrum of light vibration.
Let's get back on to the primary topic of today. So we are doing group SFT tapping events on each of the 3 days of the RNC National Convention. This is day one of the convention. This tapping session is focused on healing the evil of Christian nationalism. And the dichotomy of that is astounding to begin with. But when you boil it down, there is an undercurrent of evil embedded within the ideology, the agenda, the preferences of the extreme right-wing Christian coalition that is coalescing in a almost movement called Christian nationalism in America. Now, the thing is, and I'll come back to my opening remark about being a non-American and how odd it is for me to comment on things that are going on in America. Christian nationalism isn't unique to America. It occurs in Europe and elsewhere, but it is particularly prevalent in America. And the reason, and we'll discuss some of those reasons, but the interesting thing is that today, and this is not the first time we've done this, but we are putting the spotlight and the finger in energy on Christian nationalism and Christian nationalists and the perversion that it represents.
Absolutely. So I know in myself, all these years I have went out of my way not to offend Christians. So I don't speak my truth or what I believe, and I've kept it to myself. And that walking on rice paper to not offend anyone has actually been used to treat individuals like the rug to walk over. So we've all been walked over of our rights because we're so thoughtful of the Christian rights. Well, that ends today.
So, and I should say that we are not against Christianity per se. And, the messages embedded in, well, Jesus's messages are completely consistent with anything that we say and advocate for. And for those that are new to the work that we're doing, if you want to know what our agenda is, if we have any agenda at all, it is a progressive, inclusive agenda to ignite universal empowerment so that 8 billion people can individually and collectively live their best life of passion and purpose in perpetual joy, love, abundance, freedom, health, success, and all of the other descriptors, Jen, that you use to describe living in a state of higher consciousness in individual empowerment. And then when 8 billion individuals come together living in that state, that's a state that we call universal empowerment. So as the idea, the undercurrent of what all we're doing here in Jenuine Healing, that's it. Outside of that, we have no other agenda, except from time to time, we do need to address in energy those individuals, organizations, and forces that are actively working to undermine all of the things that I just described.
Absolutely. And there's a couple points I have to point out, because there are people who are going to be Christian based who are going to watch this and say, they're going to just turn it right off and say, if you don't do it through the Lord Jesus Christ, then it's evil, right? So here's an understanding for all of you why there's so many religious wars. Because is it Allah? Is it Jesus? Is it, a tree? What is the highest form of source? It's whatever your individual psyche can wrap around to get it out into more freedom. So for someone who's grown up in a Christian household, it may be Jesus. For someone who's grown up in a Muslim household, it may be Allah. And sometimes it's not for them. And they can find something else like the ocean, space, love itself. But it's all individualized, people. So there's no micromanaging what other people think of as true source.
And you hit on something really important. And by the way, I'm fairly certain that Jesus had this in the back of his mind and probably the front of his mind when he was doing his ministry. And that is that whatever you believe to be the highest reflection of source, be it your conception of God, Jesus as part of that Trinity, beautiful, good to go. Allow everyone else then to have their own view and to choose a secular view and path to their understanding of what they think higher consciousness is. And if that's represented in the more earthly aspects, the air, the water, the trees, the wind, the whales, Sasquatch, if that's what you believe in, then we're all good to go. The problem with Christian nationalists is that they have a perverted view that their particular manifestation and view of what they think is a righteous path to whatever it is that their path going to is the only path to doing that. And the thing that I find most offensive about the more extreme aspects of the Christian rhetoric is that Jesus is the only path to salvation. And that is just a perversion in its highest extreme. And then when you take those ideas, wrap them all together with a whole bunch of other things, which we're going to talk about, that's when it becomes evil and weaponized. Right. And that's what we're dealing with today.
So Jesus himself said, my father's mansion has many rooms. He was just saying that there's room for everybody to understand they don't have to be in the same room to worship. And the reason he called Source Father is, imagine the consciousness of that day. I mean, people were dying, in their 20s, 30s, lifespan was really short. They were like illiterate, whatever. So the only thing he could use to imprint on people how much love that was is their father's love, because they had no other source of love. It's not like they had friends and, hang out or whatever, that was something sacred. So he was grabbing on the highest common denominator just to express this source. But it's so much more than that. Can I just give you one message from Jesus, just so you know? So Jesus and I hang together because if you want to really talk to Jesus, talk to him in energy. He's not going to bilocate to you, but he's there to chat with it. If you can hang with his vibration. Well, anyways, he hates the whole Christian thrones where you're reliving his torture. He hates that. That's not for him. When you do that, you're actually gratifying the people who tortured him. And it's a lascivious, evil way to relive his torture and throw it into his face. And when I came back from the process of enlightenment and I was back into society, when I saw a crucifix, I didn't see it as something special. What I saw it was a threat by the church. Like, if you try to educate people and give them truth, this is what's going to happen to you. And if you look at the crucifix like that, you probably never want to wear one again, because it's the people who are wearing them are minions to this lascivious energy.
So, look, there are many forms and branches of the Christian domain, and so the mainstream religions, Catholicism, and then the Protestant, the various branches of Protestant reflections of that message is one thing, and then you have the Southern oriented evangelists, and it's just hard to describe this, but when it becomes thumping and the level of rhetoric even by the pastors and these revivalist movements then grabs onto some undercurrent of the psyche of the people in a particular demographic that they then grab onto and rally around, weaponize, and then try to insert that within civil society, including the governance systems, the judicial systems, and all of the secret societies that form, the aggregation of power, not only in America, but, because that's where we're kind of focused on at the moment. So, Jen, one of the things that I've always been particularly interested in understanding is the whole chicken and egg paradigm around this, because I'm a thinking type person. Jen, you're an intuitive feeling type person. I'm a thinking type person, and I seek to, understand so that I know what the hell it is that I'm talking about, and trying to unpack and unravel the first cause of this, the impact of Christian nationalism and the evolution of it is a little bit challenging. And I think of it a little bit like a chicken and egg thing. So what came first? So here's the question. Was it first a level of xenophobia and, white supremacist hate rhetoric that grabbed onto Christian dogma and amplified by these Bible-thumping pastors, right? Or was it the other way around? The Bible-thumping pastors in, the South in America that then sort of weaponized a whole bunch of people that then sparked this whole Christian nationalist movement. So here's the thing. We, being Jen and I and those that are on the call, and hopefully a couple of 100 million others, find the whole notion of Christian nationalism a dangerous ideology that serves no common good to the broader collective. It is certainly the antithesis of any sense of progressive inclusion. It is exclusionary by nature. It is grounded, in my view, in xenophobia, probably racism, and certainly white nationalism. And it is what I consider, hopefully others do as well, a clear and present danger to the empowerment of 8 billion people on the planet, and it needs to be addressed. And so we are addressing it today in energy through these SFT taps that we're going to be doing today.
Yeah. And one more thing about Christianity. I don't know if this is interesting. I know it's not on the same level of what you're talking about, but when it always occurred to me when Jesus talked about his flock being sheep, like, wasn't there a saying, the sheep shall inherit the earth?
The meek, I believe.
The meek shall, yeah, who wants to inherit the earth? I want to inherit all the other levels, the astral, cosmic, mental, etheric, and higher consciousness. So it's almost like a joke to say that. And when humans are talked to of being the Lamb of God, or the sheep of God, he's the Lamb of God. It's docile. It's not a high state of consciousness. If that's all you're striving for, you got what you got here. But if you're tired of being led around by the nose and like hearing things that just hurt your gut, like when Trump was president and he took babies away from their mothers and they'll never find their mothers again. He did that and he's proud of it. And he's going to do it again with Project 2025. So, and the Christian Coalition is helping with that. I don't know how they can do this. They're so void of the golden rule. You remember the golden rule, baby? Do unto others like you want done to yourself. Nobody wants their babies ripped away,
So here's another thought, is that and then I try and understand why people of faith, and let's call them the broader based, more moderate, faith-based people around the world, why they gravitate towards Trump. And by the way, from now on we're gonna call him Donald, because it's just he doesn't deserve the reverence of even the word Trump. Right. So we're going to call him just Donald, just to take him down like 10 notches, because he really doesn't deserve, he doesn't deserve the title president, and he certainly isn't the president at the moment. At best, he was a former president, such as it was, but we're going to call him Donald. So
I consider him a Russian operative. Everything he did was in the guise of a Russian operative. And you can say that, I don't care, you can say that it's a conspiracy theory. I think there's enough evidence out there to put it out there.
One way or another, and I don't know what the root of it is, but in one way or another, whatever it is that he's doing and all the divisiveness, hate, and division that Donald is creating certainly serves the interests of Putin and his autocratic, murderous, kleptocratic regime. So there's certainly that. So here's the thing. I suspect there is a broad base of more moderate, faithful, whose faith is based around Christ and the things that come with it. Why those moderates then hang their hat on Donald and his nefarious agenda is beyond me. But in any case, it's the Christian nationalists, a smaller proportion of the more extreme articulation of, my way or the highway. That's the way I describe what the Christian nationalists are on about. That is the perversion. So, and here's the other thing. Donald doesn't give a shit about your Christ.
Right. So here's the thing. When you have your highest envisioning of source with male genitals, genitals, yeah. Yeah, so you're going to gravitate, you're going to have daddy issues with anyone who has genitals and has he genitals. Uh, Donald has genitals, he doesn't have genitals. But anyways, so it's these daddy issues that are being played out, and people have been programmed and conditioned to love and give their power over to a daddy issue, their father. Unfortunately, Jesus used that expression and it's used against him. You want me to out somebody? Controversial?
If you like.
Have you guys ever seen Kanye West in the Oval Office with Donald and kissing Donald's boots? So I tapped into the Akashic records of why that was. In a past lifetime, Kanye, come at me, I don't care. Kanye was Donald's slave. So it was this love and reverence of Chicken George for the slave master, if anyone's watched the miniseries Roots way back.
The other thing that I would say is that for those that are mainstream, well, I mean, they're all sort of the MAGA faithful, but a lot of them are hardworking, probably trying to do the best they can, but for one reason or another, they are captured within the MAGA orbit. Here's a reality that ought to give you a moment of pause, but not that I think that it will, but it should, and that is that Donald despises you. He doesn't actually like you at all. All he's doing is he's harnessing the momentum of you, and then he will serve the interests of the mega rich and wealthy and serve his own individual, obsessive power structures and whatever. But he is not for the people. He is not even the MAGA people. So, right. Underlying, he does despise you. I just want to comment here a little bit, Jen, and to say that tap is probably tapping into what I was saying earlier, that my sense is that the underlying undercurrent of the small group of extreme hate-filled white supremacist, my way or the highway, xenophobic demographic, the underlying undercurrent is fascist ideology that is grounded in hate and xenophobia. And then they tack onto that weaponized faith being the facade, the justification for it. And I think it's that's the perversion.
Absolutely. So it's almost like they're not self-aware enough to realize what they're doing.
They don't want to look at themselves and how ugly it is. And the thing is, I keep abreast of the commentary in current affairs, and the interesting commentary around the aftermath of the attempted assassination of Donald is that it is the left side of the aisles holding the right-wing extremists to account and describing what is plainly obvious to everyone that observes the rhetoric, and describing that movement as being grounded in fascist ideology. Apparently, by the MAGA faithful, that was the catalyst for the attempted assassination. And it makes no sense. It's like, what are you talking about? Here's an interesting perspective, all of you MAGA faithful and Christian nationalists who are trying to put a perversion of a religion as the center point of public life and discourse. How do you think about non-secular Muslim regimes? And I'll guarantee you that anyone that is in the MAGA faithful Christian nationalists will look at the similar course of action in Islam as being, the enemy, and yet they're doing exactly the same thing. And that's what I talk about, is that xenophobia is at the core of the underlying belief system. And by the way, for those that aren't familiar with the term xenophobia, it is a fear of and a dislike of anything which is different or perceived as being foreign to the interests of this small clique that has built up an identity around certain beliefs and ideologies. Babies, can I give a dishonorable mention to the Federalist Society at this point?
The
So for
scumbags?
those so for those
Yeah.
that aren't familiar, the Federalist Society is a secret society by all accounts that has an agenda that is staffed by and whose members are part of the judicial elite, and they are heavily embedded within at least about a third of the justices currently sitting on the Supreme Court. And their agenda is to bring back the literalist text of the late 1700s, an ideology which is well past its use-by date, but is deeply grounded in religious overtones and right-wing conservative ideology. And so the Federalist Society and any other societies, by the way, any time there's a term society behind an organization, you can pretty much take it as read is that they're pretty much running a secret agenda.
There's an American pastor called Joel Osteen. He's really kind of attractive, and you're drawn to him. And he's like a gateway drug to Christian nationalism. And I've always I study him because when he prays, he blinks a lot. And it's almost like he's almost offended by his own bullshit. And he doesn't believe what he's saying. And it's just the way he's blinking is like good and evil are fighting within his own prayers. It's really, gateway drug.
And you're absolutely right, Jen. There is a whole undercurrent of tippy-toeing around the sanctity of Christianity within society that no one has really been able to take on. And we've done it. And look, we're not going to be popular for doing it. And but the important thing is that this whole tippy-toeing around what is plainly obvious, but no one wants to talk about, is a real problem. And so we've taken it on. Thank everyone that's on the Zoom call for helping us with that. And we took on Christian nationalists and their perversion and the undercurrent of their perverse ideology today being, as we record this, being day one of the Republican convention, because there's a whole bunch of people that are gathering together to promote and promulgate hateful ideology, and we're just sort of balancing that out and taking the piss and vinegar out of all of the hoopla.
Yes, I'm really excited about this one because we've done tabs on the NRA before, but we have not done them to the level that we're going to do them on that tapping event, because there's a lot of things I know in energy, and Marvin's always like saying, Jen, you can't say that. You can't put that out there. Where's the proof? Whatever. And the adepts just told me when I'm writing these tabs, this is the time to counter all the lies and vitriol with absolute truth. So you're not going to get it any more in your face than the tabs we do on the NRA on that session. The fact that we don't have anything to lose, we don't have, only a handful of people are watching us right now, relatively. So we have nothing to lose. And this is the point why we have nothing to lose. We need to say it, and we will say it.
Hmm. And so, just as a way of an example, just prior to going on air recording this, I was at least made aware that, a couple of hours earlier, Judge Aileen Cannon has dismissed the Florida Mar-a-Lago documents case on pretty flaky grounds. And so my immediate reaction was, you have got to be effing kidding. And it's like, oh my God, the world's going to, collapse and whatever. And then I was going, you know what? I actually think this is an opportunity to address, another layer or avenue of issues relating to, universal empowerment. So I'm thinking, look, it's a setback, but in the setback, a whole bunch of other people are going to get to see the absurdity of what's going on and going, you know what? This is wrong.
If you like this content and you appreciate the work that we're doing to uplift all of humanity and to help heal your body, mind, and soul, please consider becoming a Jenuine Healing premium content subscriber. Simply jump onto the Jenuine Healing website, jenuinehealing.com with a J, and click on the purchase button on the top menu. Scroll down, there's a premium content option. Click on that, sign up. It's a simple monthly plan for $20 a month, and you will have access to all of the premium content that we put up on the Jenuine Healing website. We look forward to catching you next time, and bye for now.